this, as I was mentioning, we do have a recording online. So if I come up here and I go to YouTube, CLIPitc. Oh, I misspelled YouTube. That doesn't work. YouTube, CLIPitc, end of year. So here's the class that we did a month ago on this. So as I said, we are recording the current class, and that means we'll have that put up there as well. Okay, meeting a couple other people, and now we're going to we'll get started. Okay, so here's my copy of CLIPitc, just doing a little experiment with programs and rounds here. So let's kind of reset this to look at the end-of-year functions. End-of-year functions are found here under Customize and End-of-Year Functions. So we select that, and here are the ones that are built in. Now, what's the purpose of end-of-year functions? Well, at the end of the year, particularly when it comes to scheduling, for instance, you want to be able to reset schedules so that they are ready to go for the next season. And these are a variety of situations. So we'll look at these. So the first is reset variable schedule 1 year later. Now, the variable schedule is for situations where your company works year-round providing, say, a mowing or maintenance service, but the schedule changes during the year. You may then in the spring, or you may start going weekly, and then in later fall go to a bi-weekly or once a month schedule, and then you want that schedule to go back to being weekly the next spring. So that's set up within the job. So no, that's a bad choice. Let me go to Acme Tires. Okay, so here's basic maintenance. And this is an Arizona scenario here. So we have basic maintenance, and we have variable schedule set up. And what this means is if I click on here, the program will allow me to change the schedule. So let me take a step back. So we're going to, right now, let's say we're in a bi-weekly schedule in January. So I set that to bi-weekly, save. And then the variable schedule would be that I come here, sorry about flipping around. Here's this. All right, so right now we're going bi-weekly. But we come to variable schedule, and the end of March, we want to go to weekly. So I come here and I choose, say, March 27th, 4 days between jobs here. And then we go back to bi-weekly, the 1st of October. So again, I'll come here and do 11 and then save. Okay, so with this scenario, if we look at view schedule, we see 11 days between jobs, and then it goes at the end of March to weekly, then into September, back to bi-weekly starting in October. So this is an example of the variable schedule. Well, I think you can see the issue here because let's say this is coming up this year to be changed. I want to be able to roll these dates ahead by 1 year at the end of each season so I can have the variable schedule up to date the next year. If I don't, after this date, it's going to stay at 11 days between jobs and never return back. So the end of year function we're talking about here is to reset the variable schedule 1 year later. So again, back in this screen, it would then roll these dates ahead to 2024. And so we'll come back here. This is again job 9, basic maintenance. So you can come here and you can choose the job you want. There's basic maintenance, and I can hit process, and that would have changed all the jobs based on that. Okay. All right, just admitted a couple more people to the class. And these are all of the jobs you could change that way. So that's the variable schedule reset 1 year ahead. Okay, this next one is start-stop schedule for 1 year. Again, this has to do with scheduling. So if we come in, and we're going to a different service to illustrate this. So here is mow and trim. Some companies, they want everything to go on hold at the end of the season because they do annual contract renewals, and they want to start the year with everything on hold, and as contracts are returned, they go in and they reactivate those. And one way to manage that is in the scheduling screen here, come in and do the start-stop schedule on a specific date. So in this case, we're going to say, we're going to start our, this is outdated. So we're going to start the schedule March 1st, and we're going to end it on November 1st. Okay, so March 1st to September 1st. Or October 1st. All right, what this means is that this job is then going to only appear during that time frame. So let me so if we hit view schedule, you see it doesn't show up even in October. It stops showing up then. Again, the end of year function would reset these dates ahead by 1 year. And again, same scenario. Change this. Mow and trim. By the way, as you're in customers and jobs, this is a side tip. Make sure, as far as you can, that the pattern job here corresponds to the job description. And the reason for this is the program has a global replacement capability, which we'll look at in a few minutes, that allows you to change the pattern job and push that change out to all the customers with that job. That is based not on the job number, though, but what pattern job the job in the customer is based on. And you may have noticed this had a different pattern, sample pattern job in here. So now if I go into the pattern job mow and trim and make a change, it will then update this job. Whereas before, since this wasn't based on the pattern, based on mow and trim, but based on what we call sample pattern job, it would not have updated this. But as I said, we'll look at that again momentarily. Again, then back to the end of year functions, check reset variable. You come here and you choose the job. So that was mow and trim all. And when you do you can do multiple services here if need be. And then I hit process. And we come back then to this customer. And we're going to refresh it by clicking out of the jobs. Now we come back into the jobs. Go to this particular package, mow and trim, and there it's been changed ahead by 1 year. So that's how the end of year function works for the reset start and stop schedule for 1 year. Okay. Now, the next is a little more common, most likely, is reset programs and rounds. In the customers who have a program, or you say fertilization programs, let me see if I have one in here as a sample. I don't. So we're going to go back to a different customer. So we're going to go to the metal forming, because they have here programs, basic program. Okay. When a job is done for programs and rounds, it changes it to done this year. And so you go through your season and you're doing different applications, and as you finalize them, it doesn't put them on hold, it puts them to done this year. That means at the end of the year, obviously, everything is done for the year. To get started then in the new year, you want to roll these ahead, or you want to reset these, sorry, to active. So we're going to come, this is the basic program. So we're going to come in here again, and we're going to say reset programs and rounds. And again, you can choose all of them, or you can choose a specific one. So in this case, I believe it's a 5-step basic. So likewise, we hit process, and it says jobs updated here. We go back here, and I'm going to click off of that one and go back to round 5 and see it was changed to active. So that's how you can reactivate your programs in a kind of a mass global way for that. So that's probably more common of the three we've looked at. That's one of the more common end of year functions. The next one is the reset done count. So back to the customer, if we look at mow and trim here, call in only, let's see if that's already set to 0. So let me go back to another customer to take a look at it. The done count is changed every time a service is performed. So if we come here to mow and trim all, this shows this job was done 10 times. And what I want to do is I want to reset that to 0. There are a couple reasons. One is you can feel like a perfectionist, like I can be at times, and I just want everything to be lined up correctly. So resetting this to 0 makes sense. But it's also a little more critical, because if you have an including contract service, so let's say this customer, ignore this for a moment. This customer has a contract, and the contract calls for 36 cuts, and that's what I based the monthly charge on. I can come here to more charge options, and so I've got 36 here, and then I say, okay, so if we exceed 36 cuts, and by that I mean, so the max is 36, if this number here goes to 37, it will now charge the customer this amount, because they're paying in the installment for only 36 cuts, and if we do extra work, we want to get paid for it. So I would save this. Now, if I don't change this to 0 at the beginning of each season, it's going to start up again, and we'll start then charging the customer extra at the wrong time. You want this to be 0 so that for the new season, when it hits 37, you've actually visited them 36 times, and this is the 37th visit. Okay, so if you're, again, this is primarily of greater importance for the installment type services you provide, or installment jobs are included in an installment. Okay, so here we've got 10, mow and trim is the job. So we come back here again, reset job done count, and you choose the job you want. So we'll scroll down. And we're going to do these. So again, I hit process. Jobs updated. Go back to the customer. And here is the still at 10, so I hit refresh. Oh, and it still says 10. Let me do that again. That's embarrassing. Okay. Let me try that again. Mow and trim all, mow and trim. Okay, I'm going to strong arm it. So it says jobs updated. Still at 10, refresh this page. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this just tells me that one thing you ought to do is spot check these. So you have a couple customers in mind where you can then go in and make sure that this applied correctly. Oh, and see, this is that's probably the problem is this. Oh, let me go back and charge per job. Sorry, this one, mow and trim. Yeah, so 0. Okay, so that is another sample of the end of year function. Now, reset done this year and skip this year. This actually is a defunct link. The done this year was part of programs and rounds. This is if you happen to have a job that is set to done this year. So as you can see, if we come in here, you do have done this year and skip this year on this screen, but you need to manually actually go in and assign these. In the programs and rounds, it will automatically say about the individual round that it was done this year, or if you happen to skip this year. Jobs will not. It'll either be active or say if you have the countdown set or these dates set, it will then go on hold automatically, but it will never go into the done this year, skip this year setting. So this is really kind of a superfluous link there. Okay, the final end of year function in this section, but not necessarily the final thing you'll do at the end of the year, is to set prepaid services to charge per job. Many companies, particularly with chemical application type jobs and programs, will send out a renewal letter, and if the customer prepays for the year, so you get your money at the beginning of the season when you need it most, the jobs are flagged as prepaid. So if we come into a job here, it'd be a job that is set to be prepaid. Okay, well, at the end of the year, you are going to renew those contracts, but until they pay up, the job is not prepaid. So you don't want to keep all of last year's prepaid jobs set to prepay. You want to change them to charge per job, and that way you're able to start over again. And if they do prepay, you just change it back to prepaid, but you aren't going to then inadvertently start doing jobs in 2023 that they haven't prepaid for and they're not going to be charged. So this allows you to reset all the prepaid services to charge per job. And here this gives you then the different services that are relevant to this, and you can check off which ones you accept as prepay and hit process to reset those. Okay, those are the end of year functions that the program can do for you. Now, there are some other end of year functions that you would do outside of this. For instance, so we're going to come back here. We're going to look at daily. And you'll notice on my schedule, I've got all these cleanup leaves that are still from back November 15th of 2002. And I'm done with leaf cleanup, so I want to move these to 2023. So what you would do is come here and go to Patterns. Just a moment, please. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so here we go to the pattern jobs and clean up leaves. And we hit edit here. Okay, so this is that, I was referring to this a little earlier. So if I come to schedule here, I can come to the calendar. And I'm going to change this to October 1st, but of 2023. So I hit OK, and October 1st, and then save. Now, I check this box, and down here it says Update All Jobs. So I can come in here and I click Update All Jobs, and this just says it'll update it. So I say OK. Now we come back to this, and I'm going to hit Get Work again. And so I'm refreshing for today. And now the cleanup leaves have all disappeared. They've been changed to that future date. And then I would just repeat the same process with the fall cleanups. So that gives you a way to change the next visit date for a specific job globally in the system. Now, some people do that with mowing. Now, there's another, which certainly works. However, one drawback to changing the date in the pattern mowing job and then pushing that out to all customers is that you then lose perhaps a day of the week. So you might have some jobs that are Monday jobs, Tuesday job, Wednesday jobs, and so on. Well, if you put them all on the same day of the week next spring, then they're all going to show up on that date. And you have to, again, figure out, well, what jobs are being done which day. Another option for that, and so let me go ahead and I'm going to refresh to get some mowing services in here. So let me see if this works. Okay, so we have here mowing jobs beginning to show up. So that was March 6th. I want just March 1st. Okay, so what you can do, you can go to adjust schedule. Now, in your world, it may be that those mowing jobs are showing up for a date this past November or October, whenever you finish mowing. So, but here we're going to, so you would go in here and you choose the date that it was showing up on the schedule. So again, in your world, this could be November. So I come here to show jobs. Let me see, do I have some mowing on here? Yeah, a few mowing. This isn't quite as clean. Let me do the next date here, because this allows you to change then the date. So these are Thursday jobs. Okay, let me drop back and punt to make sure I've got a good date on here. So mow. Okay, so 3/6, that looks good. So again, we're going to come back to adjust schedule. We're going to look at 3/6. is a Monday. All right, so here's mowing jobs. So what you can do is check these off, and then you can uncheck non-mowing jobs if you've got any showing up here. And then I can say, okay, these are Monday mowing jobs, so I want to move them to, and again, if you're working from November, you want to say, okay, I want to move these to Monday the 13th, and you hit move jobs. And then those jobs have been moved, but you've preserved the day of the week for those mowing services. So that just allows you to respect the day of the week from last season. When you move it to next year, you can keep the same day of the week if that's your habit as a company. So that, again, that's another end of year function of resetting your mowing services or your weekly maintenance services to the appropriate week and day in the next year. All right, so we've looked at the section under Customize end of year functions. We've covered these. We've looked at how you can use the pattern job to do a global change by coming in here to the fall cleanup or cleanup leaves and changing the date. So let me change these to October. And so by changing the setting and the pattern and saving it, you can then check the box and hit update all jobs, and it'll then move it to that future date. And then finally, we looked at the under daily, the adjust schedule. So we've got those different processes to update information for next year here. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everybody, and we'll see if we have any questions about this. So, well, let me see if it'll let me unmute everybody. It doesn't. Okay, so why don't you use the chat if you've got any questions about end of year functions or related topics. So I'll wait a moment to see if anything shows up in the chat. Otherwise, the class is done a little bit early. I guarantee you tomorrow and Friday will be longer sessions for this, just because there's more detail involved in the record work or the daily routines, as well as the billing that we'll cover Friday. Okay, so I'm waiting for questions. Okay. Oh, okay. So Aaron had issues getting on, so would love a recap of the class if possible. Boy, one thing I pointed out probably before you got on was that at YouTube, we already have a video on end of year functions that's from last December, so it's just a month old. And we are recording this, so this one should also be posted on YouTube, possibly by the end of the week, if not early next week. Okay, so when you change job counts to zeros, last year's data captured anyway. Yes, the job count doesn't change the fact that in history you'll see when the actual visits were, and you could count them up, or export that to Excel to count how many times visits occurred the last season. So it doesn't do anything related to last year's data. It just is moving forward. It'll start the count after you do the job for the first time in the new year. It'll then say 1, and then the next time 2, 3, and so on. But no, it doesn't affect any past information that's been entered. That's still preserved in the customer history for that. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, one thing, let me this is my email address if you don't happen to have it. If you later think of a question related to end of year functions or pretty much anything, you can send me an email. My position here is to try to teach or to train in the program. Not so much tech support, although I can do a little bit of that just because I've been around so long. So if you've got any questions and want another resource in addition to our support team, you can go ahead and send that to billc@clip.com too. All right, we're going to close up now. So as I said, if any question comes up as you're thinking about this, or if you look at that other video and have a question, please feel free to shoot me an email. And maybe even tomorrow at class, at the start of the class, we'll see if there are any questions from today. Anyway, hope you all are having a happy new year so far, and I look forward to seeing you then tomorrow. So have a great day. Bye.